Okay. Good Friday morning. Welcome back to Finding God in the Dark. My name is PD, Don Stevens.
RevEv here. Good to see you, PD.
Good to see you, Evan. We watched this week, we watched a film called Akira. Akira is a 1980, yeah, there it is. It is a 1988 animated film directed by Katsuhiro Otomo. He is also the author of the manga, which is Japanese comic books, that the film is based on. It is definitely a film for mature audiences. Don't be mistaken that this is a cartoon and it's a kid's cartoon. It's not really. It's definitely for mature audiences. It's R-rated. It has some violence, some very adult themes, a lot of psychological depth to it, a little bit of objectionable language, not a lot, a little bit. On a personal note, though, I do want to say this. Um, Before I ask what you thought of it, Evan, um, this movie is so much deeper than its cyberpunk sci-fi veneer. Okay. Um, it I kind of relate it to a lot of other things. If you watch a lot of apocalyptic horror movies, let's say things like Night of the Living Dead or whatever, a lot of times the zombies or the plague or whatever are just a vehicle, and really the story is about what's the characters and how the characters change, and this is very, very much in that genre. There are depths to this movie that would really require 2 or 3 or more viewings to start to really understand the psychology in it. The other part of it is it's Japanese. And so much of Japanese culture is very foreign to us as American that there are some things that don't hit or that escape us, right? So it's good to know that you don't know, because I think sometimes we can make too many assumptions, right? Oh, I think I know what that means, and that's not really what it means, or at least not to the author. Now, can we draw that conclusion? Sure, we can. It doesn't mean it's 100% wrong, but we want to try to understand what the creators are trying to say as well. So, I mentioned that it was based on a manga. I have not, the film itself is only a small portion of an 7 or 8 volume set of manga, of comic books that this is based on. And I'm now, for myself, going back and doing a little research and all this. I put the manga box set on my birthday list for my life. So,
Nice.
so
Yeah, that's a nice box set.
I think I want to read it. So we'll see. Anyway, all that said,
Yeah.
tell me what you got out of it.
So as I was saying to you before we started recording, I've always been attracted to Japanese anime, to manga. But it's having not grown up with it and not knowing many other people kind of in my friend group who were into that. It felt overwhelming and daunting trying to make an entry point into that world.
It's a big, big world, right?
Yeah. So, like I did with Marvel and like I kind of did with Star Wars, like those are just things I didn't grow up with, or if I did, it was, listen, when I grew up, I was obsessed with the NBA. Like that was my world. I lived and breathed basketball. And so other kind of cultural touchstones like Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and anime and other things that a lot of teens and stuff are into, I just really wasn't that into. So because I don't have like an entry point, from childhood, it's kind of hard. So anyway, with anime, I just kind of picked something. So I really wanted to get into this, and I picked, I watched Spirited Away, I watched Howl's Moving Castle,
Right.
some of those ones, and
Very
then
mainstream. The Miyazaki films are very mainstream kind of
very
film.
mainstream. Yeah. So anyway, I just kind of picked that, and same with like. So anyway, that's how I kind of got into that and purchased a few manga, which you have to get used to reading them completely differently. And then you read American comics, you read them right to left, and there's other way, So anyway, you're right. It's a kind of different culture and stuff, and I think that kind of inhibited me from getting into it. So I had never seen Akira, and then reading a bit about it, realizing, boy, this is like a standard bearer in the field of
It
anime
is.
and manga.
Yeah.
Um, so started, and I I was telling you, when I got to the end of watching it, I sat there and I'm like, wait a minute, what did I just see? And it will require subsequent viewings.
Yeah.
What I really liked about it, well, I liked several things about it. The animation was really good. I liked the cyberpunk genre, so that
Mhm.
was appealing to me.
Mhm.
But there was, if we're looking at it through the lens of faith or religion, theology, boy, there's a lot of stuff there.
There is.
There's a lot of stuff there, and so
And
and,
and
and I
as and before we jump into that stuff, let's establish this. The film came out in 1988. The manga came out in 1982. I'm not going to put out spoiler alerts at this point. If you haven't seen it before and you don't want us to spoil it for you, pause here, go watch it and come back
yeah
because we're going to talk about what happened. So,
yeah 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 that's a good word. Um, yeah. So anyway, it is helpful. I watched it both the dubbed and with the subtitles on.
mhm.
Some of that's because I'm hard of hearing, so I watch
And it's
anything with
different.
subtitles. But it is different. Yeah, but that helped me really kind of grasp what was happening. And you're right. There's a lot of turns of phrases or humor or certain things that they try to approximate, I think, in the translation.
Mhm.
But some of that just might not land the way that it would if it were originally English. So that's something for those who are listening or watching who may not know anything about anime or that genre to be aware of.
Right.
So yeah, so should we want to kind of do the broad strokes of the storyline?
Sure.
All right,
Sure.
so Tokyo's destroyed, and it's not totally clear at the beginning how that happened, right? But Tokyo's
Right.
destroyed. World War III.
That is a bubble,
Yes, there's like
right?
this almost like a mushroom cloud, but it's not a mushroom cloud.
Not
It's like this growing bubble that envelops the city and destroys it. And so
in
30 years later,
1988.
right? So 2018, jump ahead. There's Neo Tokyo. They've rebuilt, but it's kind of this autocratic police state. Things are kind of, and then there's like sections that are just kind of run amok with gangs and violence and that. And then there are these what's the word? Uh like the psychics.
Oh, empaths.
Yeah, but I think there was another word that they used.
They used the term in the film or in the Japanese dub, right? But they didn't really in the English version, they didn't really have a name for them. They were just children who
Right.
looked like old people.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
had psychic abilities.
Right. Right.
I
Well,
think they
and
just
it
called them by numbers.
that's right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Number 25, number 26.
Right.
Yeah. And so it focuses on there's these two gangs. There's the I forget their names with the capsules, and then
The
the
clowns.
clown gang, right? And so it really focuses on Kaneda, and he's one of the gang
It is the
members of
one
the
in the picture
capsules.
behind you.
Yep, there's Kaneda and his friend Tetsuo. So Tetsuo crashes his motorcycle. Esper, I think that's what they were called. ESPER, something like that. I think maybe that's the title for.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, yeah. So crashes into this. So then there are like these like military and scientist people who are using the espers. Then there's this resistance that wants to free the espers, and I think Kaneda and Tetsuo kind of get wrapped up in this world, So Tetsuo ends up in the hospital, um, and turns out that this kind of activates powers, right? And so kind of follows him. One of the things that was interesting to me for Tetsuo, he escapes from the hospital, and then Kaneda, and I think it was Kai, who was like the leader of that resistance.
Right.
Um,
Well, she wasn't
you
a
know,
leader, but she was part of the underground resistance that was fighting the government.
right,
Yeah.
right. I'm trying to think of the leader of that, what his name was.
Um, Mike, is that right? Or Bill or something like that. It was a real common name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, but it was interesting to me how, maybe this kind of gets into the theological. Tetsuo gets this power kind of activated. It starts to consume him,
Mm-hmm.
and and his personality starts to change, kind
Right.
of in the middle of the movie. And so that kind of, to me, was part of that kind of broad genre. And we see it in Lord of the Rings, right? We see it in, getting close to power changes the individual, and
Right.
can often, maybe for a time or maybe more permanently, kind of lead them in a nefarious direction, right? We see like Frodo, to continue with that. Frodo, we see Gandalf, we see Bilbo, who kind of get caught up in the powers, but ultimately prevail over it, resist it,
Right.
accomplish their mission. And then
Right.
you see Boromir, right? And others who succumb
Who
to the
was right.
power. And so,
Right.
like, there's this moment in the anime where it's like with Tetsuo, like, what's his arc going to be? Is he going to be kind of totally changed and consumed by this power? Which toward the end of the movie, there's this moment where he is like literally consumed
Right.
as this power is growing.
Right.
Um, but then there also is, so you have all these players in the movie. You have like the shadowy kind of the government cabal. You've got the resistance. You've got these gangs, and then you also have like this cult
Yeah.
that has emerged around Akira, kind of like almost reminiscent of like a Jonestown, or like some sort of a doomsday cult, and they're kind of preparing for an ultimate end.
What they're now, this is subtle, okay? It's easy to miss
Mhm.
that Akira has been here before,
Right.
and
They're
the
waiting for the
cult
return.
is trying to bring Akira's return,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they're it's almost that, if we want to make the Christian connection, right? It's the return of Christ after. Is this where they're at? Is this the tribulation? You know,
Oh, okay.
right?
Sure.
Where they're living currently, is this a tribulation? And at the end, when you see Tetsuo absorbed, he's absorbed by what? By Akira.
Right.
And
Yes.
is that the second coming of Christ? See, there you can draw those
Oh,
parallels.
yeah.
I'm not sure that Otomo, the author, would draw those parallels,
Hmm.
but it is there at least in the story, right?
Well,
Uh,
yeah, and then there's creation, right, with this singularity that
mhm.
emerges,
At the
and
beginning,
when
which
Tetsuo and Kaneda get sucked into it, like there's the Big Bang, there's
which you
creation.
find you find out in the end, and again, spoiler alerts, but you find out that initial bubble explosion wasn't really an explosion. It wasn't really what destroyed the city.
Hmm.
It changed things, but it didn't destroy the city. What really has destroyed the city is the government, and the oppression of the government, and the sort of the military fascistic almost takeover of the government,
Yep.
is what has turned the city into this post-apocalyptic nightmare, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so this cult then sort of represents people who are trying to bring around the end of times by the return of Akira. You know,
Hmm.
it's like I said, it's deep stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. You do need multiple, and kind of the ending. You're like, that like there's this another. So one of the things that in the latter like third of the movie, maybe even the latter quarter of the movie, like you're introduced to like the singularity and these alternate planes or dimensions of
Hmm.
existence. And it kind of ends with, Tetsuo is kind of in this like unspecified realm of reality, and triggers the creation of a new universe.
Right.
And so it was just it was kind of mind bending in that, it's you have like this kind of cosmic, dare I say, even religious kind of overt imagery and like ultimate kind of plot destination, but
Hmm.
then you have like this kind of like very much smacks of like that 80s kind of computer. That would be probably the cyberpunk piece. And then you've got, like almost like, um the action with lots of blood and weapons and everything. So,
Hmm.
it's a great mashup of all kinds of different, I don't even know if the genres is the right word, but there's so much happening in it that defies kind of like a one-dimensional viewing.
Right. Right. And the nice thing about it is that um the um the story, I mean, holds it all together, right? And they when they start out, they don't just lay everything on the table, but they let you, kind of get into the
Right.
story and try to understand who's like, why is this guy pulling this kid through the city and people are chasing him and then, he gets shot. Like, who is this guy? And they don't tell you until later on you figure it out, that he was part of the resistance and that he was capturing one of these psychic kids, but you don't get that from the outset. They just kind of let you.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate a film that does that, that doesn't just tell, doesn't give you exposition just because, well, you might not
Right.
understand this, so let me explain it by this character telling you a story. No, they let you learn it, figure it out. Which,
Yeah.
let's be honest, then, if you're watching this film, you better be paying attention. I'll tell you to go back and keep a particular eye on if you noticed the weird looking scientist in the, I think he was in a truck, and he had that machine that was creating those wave patterns in a circle. You remember what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and then I have never seen a
I think
pattern like
so.
this new kid's, right? Like Tetsuo's pattern, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
look at
yeah,
how
yeah.
they overlay Akira's pattern with Tetsuo's pattern and see the difference, because it's almost as if one is the opposite of the other. So, like I said, there's all
Oh,
these
okay.
little details that just it almost requires you to go back and watch it a third time, a fourth time, just to kind of absorb all of that stuff. Um, that's what, I own it. I put it on. I think
Yeah, yeah. And there were a couple times down like my
but yeah, I watched it twice
yeah,
this
yeah. I
week.
mean, there were a couple times when my kids came in the room or I got a text or something. You watched it twice?
Yeah, twice this week.
Really? Yeah, like there were a couple of times like my kids came in the room or got a text or something, and I'd be like, I got to go back and watch this because the movie would kind of keep going, but
Right.
I'd be like, man, you cannot take your eyes off it. You've got
No.
to watch it because, and
But
that's the thing that I love with anime, and I see this in, again, granted my viewing of anime is pretty limited, but there's there's a whole lot of subtlety in
yeah,
anime.
yeah.
Like you really have to pay attention or you're gonna
And
miss it.
and the reality is, like, most of us, our exposure to anime, at least as kids, was Speed Racer, Marine Boy, um, maybe you got Star Blazers or something like that. But most of
Right.
us, that was all we knew about Japanese animation, and that was the stuff that was specifically made for kids. Japanese anime is really Japan's version of Hollywood. So they tell all the same kinds of stories that Hollywood tells. They just do them in animation because it's actually cheaper. So, um, if if you want
Yeah.
to go the depths, you said you watched or have you read Death Note? Are we freezing
You have
up?
to say it again. You're kind of freezing in and out.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
I got bad internet over here.
A little bit.
You've watched Death Note,
Oh, I haven't watched it, no, but I have the complete
the
edition
manga.
manga.
Okay. Uh, yeah, that's another one. That's like it's a whole
Yeah.
psychological drama, right? One of my favorite animes, and really the first kind of
Hmm.
introduction for me into anime was a series called Bubblegum Crisis. So that's very cyberpunk. It's a team of,
Okay.
young girls who become these full suited ninjas. It's cool. If you have a chance.
Mm.
It
Okay.
might be a little hard to find, but it's a cool little series. Um,
Yeah, yeah. What's it called?
Bubblegum Crisis.
Bubblegum Crisis. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so anyway, I guess what we would
Write
say
that down.
is if you're so inclined as to watch Akira, um, it's a dense film. Recommended if you're okay with the things that are in it, a little violence, psychological horror, if you will, a little bit of that, a little bit of language, but it's definitely an adult film, but it's worth a watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I really did. And thanks for recommending that. I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Anything else you want to say on it, F?
No, I was just it was good. It was entertaining, but it wasn't like cheap entertainment. It
Right.
was so I think it's good in that it would appeal to someone who just wants an anime. You can look at it that way, and you're gonna have some blood and some fighting and some cool like 80s anime effects. But if you want that and like something deep, something something cosmic, right? Which really it
Right.
is.
Right.
Then that's a good one for you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So my turn, right?
It's your turn. So I'm kind of between two movies, and they're both Coen Brothers films. I won't give you all the Coen Brothers stuff. Um, so I guess have you seen Barton Fink?
Not that I can recall. No.
Okay, we should watch Barton Fink. It has John Turturro in it and John Goodman,
Okay.
and it's not
So
it's not at
Walter
all like The
Walter
Big
and
Lebowski.
Jesus.
Walter and Jesus, yeah, but it's not at all like it's not at all like um, The Big Lebowski.
Okay. Barton
Great,
Fink.
great Barton Fink. Yes.
Okay. I'll have to see if it's on a streaming service or not. Um,
Okay.
I'll look that
If
up.
it's not on a streaming service, um, I can give you something else. Just kind of Googling it to see if Barton Fink is streaming. Because I think it is. I feel like I saw that somewhere. Uh,
You have IMDb on your phone?
I don't.
Yeah, see, that's what you need.
Well, I mean, I do. I use it in the browser. I don't have the app.
Yeah, the app on my phone. So
Okay.
that
Well, will that tell you where it's streaming? Hey,
it
nice.
should.
Um,
Usually does.
okay.
Uh, come on now. Really?
So if that does not bring us up
1991
anywhere.
film. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
It's a looks like it's a rent or buy on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So, all right. Well,
Do you
I'll start.
have Apple TV?
No,
No, you're an Android guy, aren't you?
I'm an Android guy. Sorry.
Okay. I was, it'd be cool. I could like say go to Blockbuster and find it, but yeah, those don't exist
Yeah,
anymore, do they?
go to Blockbuster. I think there's one left somewhere. Renton,
Go to
Washington. I think there's
Blockbuster.
one Blockbuster left, but uh
Yeah, I think the original, right, is still
yeah,
there.
the original one. Yeah,
The original store, you know.
but that's it.
But
That's
that's wild.
but
Um,
I'd be willing to bet that even if
that's it.
it's not
Okay.
on a streaming service, I can probably find it in a discount bin at Target or Walmart or something, you know.
Yeah, you should be able to. And if not, I'll send you my DVD.
All right, well,
Do that too.
we'll sort it
So
out. We'll sort it out. That's what we'll talk about next week.
yeah. All right. All right. So that is it's such a good movie. I think John Turturro is a criminally underrated actor. He's so good.
Yeah,
And
I
and
like him.
John Goodman is
He's not
yeah,
my
he's
favorite
great.
actor, but I like John Turturro. I think I loved um why do I always forget his name? I love his acting and I forget his name. The guy who played Sirius Black in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh,
Yeah, right?
uh not Alan. No, that
No,
was
not Alan Rickman, although he's great.
oh,
Well, was great.
um
Yeah, see, I do the same thing. I can't remember his name.
it's right there. Oh, this is gonna make me lose it.
No, look it up. Because I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna sit here going, oh, who is it?
He's he's in a bunch of stuff that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Um anyway, our readers. We'll look it up. But yeah, so Barton Fink is set, I think, in 1941.
Mm-hmm.
John Turturro is a playwright, and he's he's hired to write a script for a Hollywood studio. Um, and John Goodman is an insurance salesman. Um, and so you'll see how they intersect and what happens with them. It's kind of a black comedy, psychological thriller kind of a movie.
Okay.
So, did you find Sirius Black's name?
I'm right there.
Was it
Hold
Doug
on.
Oldman?
Gary Oldman. It's Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
It's
Yes, yeah, not Doug Oldman. Gary Oldman.
it's Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
I look
So
because he disappears into
yeah,
a
Gary Oldman. He
you
so
don't
he,
see
that just
him.
made me think of something. If you don't see what?
You don't see him. He disappears into a role, you know. When he's playing a
Oh
character,
yeah, yeah.
the
Oh,
character.
that's yes. That's how I. He's like that. Daniel Day Lewis, who's another favorite of mine, he just gets absorbed by the character.
Yeah.
He's such a tremendous actor. Have you seen? You've probably seen this. Have you seen the Book of Eli?
Yes, I own the Book of Eli. I own that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that would be a fantastic.
He's in that one.
Hard to get more overtly religious than that movie.
Not much. No, not
Well,
much.
he's in that one, yeah, which made me think of that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Barton Fink it is for next week.
Yeah, so good.
For those who are following along, we'll
Barton Fink.
like we say, if you want to subscribe to follow, that'd be great. If not, we'll see you next week. We're going to post links to these videos as we go along. Look on my church's Facebook page, my Facebook page. Ev, you're welcome to share it wherever you want. I know you put it on Twitter one time, so
yeah, and I'm gonna put yeah, I'll keep pumping them out on Twitter and put it on Facebook too. I just For some reason, I don't think of Facebook that much. I'm more active on Twitter sharing stuff. So,
It's
but
sorry. You know, we just like I said, we're not trying to get famous or make a lot of money. We're just sharing what we hope we know and what we think about some stuff. So,
yeah.
all right, my friend, I will see you in a week, and we'll
Peace.
talk about Bart and Fink next week.
Awesome.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.